How two stars turned a whisper into a lifelong vow. Pakorn and Suppasit's love story is like a modern-day fairy tale, born from quiet glances, nurtured by laughter, and revealed in moments that left even the most loyal fans in awe. Just months after their spectacular onstage proposal made headlines, they surprised the world with their engagement. A secret love turned into an eternal promise. Are you ready to relive the moment? Sometimes the most beautiful love stories aren't written in scripts or performed on stage. They unfold quietly, unexpectedly, in real life. Pakorn has always been the kind of man people notice quietly. He doesn't shout for attention. He doesn't demand the spotlight. He carries himself with the calm steadiness of someone who has lived more than one life. A doctor by training, an actor by passion, a man defined by his maturity and grace. His presence is grounding, like solid earth beneath your feet. People often describe him as composed, rational, almost reserved, but behind that quiet demeanor is a deep well of empathy. A heart that beats with a gentleness that draws people close without them even realizing it. Then there's Suppasit. If Tul is the anchor, Mew is the light. Charismatic, multi-talented, and endlessly creative, Mew has built his name not just as an actor, but as a singer, songwriter, and performer who lives to express himself. Where Tul is steady, Mew is radiant. Where Tul listens, Mew sings. He is the kind of man who turns a simple moment into something poetic, who can turn silence into music, and who makes the everyday feel extraordinary. On paper, they might seem like opposites, the calm doctor-actor and the dreamy artist. But anyone who has watched them together knows the truth. They fit. They fit in the way that opposites often do, not because they cancel each other out, but because they complete each other. Mew brings light to Tul's quiet world, and Tul gives Mew the grounding that every bright flame needs. Like the sky and the horizon, like the ocean and the shore, their connection feels inevitable, natural, and deeply right. Their story began the way many great love stories do, not with fireworks or grand declarations, but with friendship. In the bustling world of Thai entertainment, where schedules are hectic and expectations are high, Tul and Mew crossed paths as colleagues. At first, it was professional. A shared stage, a shared screen, a shared conversation among peers. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, something shifted. The friendship began to carry a different weight. The laughter lingered a little longer, the conversations went a little deeper, and the presence of the other began to feel less like coincidence and more like necessity. Fans noticed before they said anything. There was a softness in the way Tul looked at Mew, a subtle pride when he spoke about him, a protectiveness that seemed to slip past the lines of mere friendship. And from Mew, there was a warmth that glowed whenever Tul was near, the kind of warmth you can't manufacture. Together, they looked like two people who had found not just companionship, but home. For years, the entertainment industry thrived on rumors and whispers, and their bond was no exception. Fans speculated, dissected every glance, every interaction, wondering whether what they were seeing was just camaraderie or something more profound. And while Tul once dominated the world of on-screen speculation, it was Tul and Mew's quiet, real-life moments that began to capture imaginations. Still, neither rushed to confirm nor deny. They let time do the talking. Then came July 2024, when Pakorn decided it was time for honesty. In a simple yet powerful confirmation, he revealed that he and Mew were in fact in a relationship. The news spread like wildfire. Fans across the globe rejoiced, not with shock but with relief. Their hearts had suspected this all along. What made the announcement beautiful was its calmness. There was no drama, no spectacle. Just two men who had found each other, unafraid to share it with the world. And as if that weren't enough, just a few months later, in October 2024, they announced their engagement. For the LGBT community in Thailand and beyond, it was a landmark moment. In a world where many still struggle to love openly, Tul and Mew chose not only to stand by each other, but to promise a future together. Their decision to share that joy with the public wasn't just about personal happiness. It was about representation, about hope, about proving that love, when it is true, deserves to be celebrated without apology. What makes their relationship so endearing is not only the milestone moments, the announcement, the engagement, but the everyday sweetness they share. Fans see it in the quiet photos, the candid clips, the little stories that slip out in interviews. It's in the way they hold hands, in the way Mew's laughter lights up when Tul says something dry and understated, in the way Tul's calm gaze seems to soften whenever Mew is near. It's a love story that feels lived in, not staged. Not the kind of romance that burns too bright and too fast, but the kind that glows steadily, lighting up everything around it. Ultimately, their story reminds us of a timeless truth. Love doesn't always come with flashy gestures or dramatic revelations. Sometimes it starts with friendship. Sometimes it's quiet, steady, until one day you realize you can't imagine life without the other person. Tul and Mew's journey from co-workers to friends to soulmates is a testament to that truth. And with their commitment, they've shown the world that love, when nurtured with patience and sincerity, can grow into something unshakable. Their love is more than a headline. It's a promise to each other and to everyone watching that happiness is possible, that love is worth fighting for, and that when it's real, it's always worth cherishing. At first, Tul and Mew were simply colleagues moving through the fast-paced world of Thai entertainment. Yet for those paying close attention, their connection felt different. Even in crowded rooms and under flashing cameras, they seemed to fall into their own quiet orbit, where every glance and smile carried extra meaning. Fans noticed quickly. Tul, calm and steady, often looked toward Mew as if to make sure he was all right. Mew, bright and full of energy, leaned closer whenever Tul spoke, as though his words were too precious to miss. These gestures weren't staged, they were real, small signs of something deeper. Over time, those small signs multiplied. Coffee outings, casual gatherings, candid photos, what some called coincidences, began to feel like a growing closeness that could no longer be ignored. Naturally, fan communities buzzed with questions. Are they more than friends? Why are they always together? Threads lit up with speculation. But instead of pulling back or trying to explain, Tul and Mew carried on just as they were. There were no denials, no deliberate distance, only authenticity. They let their bond speak for itself. And it was that quiet confidence that convinced fans more than any statement could. Something genuine was blooming between them. That attitude only endeared them more to fans. There's something refreshing about two people who don't play by the typical PR playbook. They weren't trying to sell a fantasy, nor were they trying to squash one. They were just themselves, natural, relaxed, and beautifully human. And perhaps that's why the speculation felt less like gossip and more like a collective cheer. Fans weren't rooting for a rumor, they were rooting for love, in whatever form it took. Slowly, what began as whispers evolved into conviction. You didn't need an official press release to see what was unfolding. It was in the way Mew's hand would brush Tul's as they walked side by side. It was in the way Tul's serious face would break into a rare grin whenever Mew teased him. It was in the ease they carried together, the kind of ease that only comes when two people feel safe in each other's presence. And perhaps the most beautiful part was how unforced it all felt. There was no attempt to script a narrative, no need for fireworks or staged moments, just two men, building something real in front of the world's eyes, with the kind of simplicity that makes you believe love doesn't need spectacle to be extraordinary. Sometimes it's as simple as showing up again and again until one day you realize that person has become the constant in your life. For fans watching, it was like reading between the lines of a story that wrote itself. Every shared glance, every candid smile, every coincidental appearance together was another sentence in the love letter they were crafting, quietly, steadily, and without apology. And by the time the rumors became undeniable, most people weren't asking, "Are they?" anymore. They were smiling knowingly and saying, "Of course they are." It's the kind of romance that feels both ordinary and magical at the same time. Ordinary because it grows out of the little things, the daily gestures, the natural flow of friendship turning into something more. Magical because once you notice it, you realize how rare it is to see something so pure, so unmanufactured unfold in plain sight. And that is how TulMew's story shifted, quietly, sweetly, from friendship into love. A love that didn't need to be announced, because it was already written in the way they looked at each other. A love that reminded everyone watching that sometimes the most extraordinary romances don't start with fireworks. They start with a smile that lingers just a little too long. Which brings us to the next question, the one that fans everywhere are waiting to hear the answer to. If the whispers are so sweet, what will happen when TulMew finally decide to tell their truth? What about you? Are you a fan who has fallen in love with this couple's story like we have? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to share where in the world you're watching. Whispers can only last so long before they turn into answers. And for TulMew, the time finally came to trade speculation for certainty, stepping forward hand in hand to let the world know their love was real. There are moments in pop culture that feel less like headlines and more like history being written right in front of us. For years, fans whispered, speculated, and hoped, watching TulMew weave a story that seemed too tender to be just friendship. And then, in July 2024, the whispers turned into truth. With the calm assurance that only someone deeply certain of his heart could have, Pakorn confirmed what fans had long believed. He and Suppasit were in love. The announcement wasn't staged for shock value. There were no fireworks, no dramatic confessions on a stage designed to go viral. Instead, it was gentle, steady, and profoundly human. Two men standing together, finally ready to share their happiness with the world. And that's why it hit so hard. Because love, when it's real, doesn't need a spectacle. It just needs honesty. Overnight, the fandom and the media lit up. Social feeds flooded with cheers, tears, and heart emojis. Clips of TulMew holding hands at public events became viral proof that love doesn't need to hide. They weren't performing for cameras. They were simply being themselves. Tul, composed as always, stood with the same quiet dignity fans had always admired. Mew, with his trademark warmth, smiled as if the weight of secrecy had finally lifted. Together, they radiated the kind of calm joy that told everyone watching, this is what love looks like when you stop asking permission to feel it. And just when fans thought the news couldn't get any sweeter, October 2024 arrived. TulMew revealed that they were engaged. The announcement was met with an outpouring of joy, not only from fans but from the broader community. Their engagement was more than a personal milestone, it was a cultural one. In a world where same-sex couples still face challenges and stigma, here were two beloved public figures saying clearly and proudly, "We choose each other. We choose our future together." What made it even more moving was how unpretentious it all was. There were no extravagant stunts, no need to overshadow their bond with spectacle. A simple photograph of their intertwined hands, a shared smile at an event, a candid exchange of affection. Those small moments told the story better than any press release ever could. Love didn't need to be dressed up. It was enough, in all its natural sweetness. Fans around the world celebrated as if it were their own love story. In comment sections, people wrote about how TulMew gave them courage to come out to their families, to confess their feelings to someone they loved, or simply to believe that happiness was possible for them too. For many young LGBT viewers, their engagement wasn't just a romantic announcement. It was validation. It was a beacon saying, "You are not wrong for who you love. Your story can have joy, commitment, and a happy ending too." And maybe that's what makes TulMew's public love story so powerful. It isn't just about two celebrities, it's about representation. It's about shattering the old narrative that same-sex love must be hidden or doomed. Instead, they showed it as something equal, dignified, and celebratory. Their relationship isn't just tolerated, it's adored, embraced, and championed. That's a shift that matters. And it's one of the reasons why their announcement felt bigger than them. At the heart of it all, though, remains the simple truth that TulMew are just two people in love. Two people who laugh at each other's jokes, who share quiet mornings and long nights, who hold hands not to make a statement, but because it feels natural. The fact that their love also happens to change lives is almost secondary. And yet, that's the magic of it. By being themselves, they've become something larger than themselves. For fans, for the LGBT community, and for anyone who has ever doubted their right to love openly, TulMew's story is a gift. It's proof that love doesn't need permission to be real, and that when you choose courage, you not only find happiness, you inspire it in others. So as we celebrate their engagement, let's also celebrate the lesson they leave behind. That love, no matter its form, deserves to be lived proudly, tenderly, and without apology. Because in the end, the greatest victory is not just finding your soulmate, it's showing the world that love like yours is worth cherishing. And if you felt even a little of that inspiration, then help us keep spreading it. Hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell so you never miss a story like this, and share this video with your friends and family. Because you never know, by sharing TulMew's story, you might give someone else the courage to believe in their own. After the cheers of their engagement announcement faded from the headlines, what lingered was something even more precious. The quiet beauty of TulMew's everyday life together. Because love isn't just proven in public declarations, it is written day after day in the small, unspoken gestures that only two people in sync can share. And for TulMew, those gestures became the heart of their story, subtle, tender, and as breathtaking as any scripted romance. They never leaned into extravagance or spectacle. You won't find them staging grand public shows of affection to dominate trending hashtags. Instead, their love revealed itself in the still moments, the in-between spaces of daily life. A vacation photo where Tul stands just close enough to Mew that their shoulders brush as if gravity itself insists they remain connected. A candid clip of Mew stirring something on the stove while Tul hovers nearby, pretending to taste the food, but really just sneaking another smile. A late-night live stream where a glance, a laugh, or the soft correction of a detail told fans more about their bond than words ever could. The magic of TulMew's relationship is that it feels both extraordinary and deeply relatable. They are celebrities, yes, admired by millions, but the love they share is made of the same things that sustain any couple. Trust, care, attention, and an unspoken agreement to show up for each other. That's why fans find themselves not just entertained, but moved. Watching Tul quietly adjust Mew's jacket before he steps on stage doesn't feel like watching two stars. It feels like catching a glimpse of two people who genuinely cannot help but take care of each other. Social media has given fans a window into that art, though always in glimpses, never in excess. A photo here, a video clip there, often posted without fanfare. Yet these fragments carry weight. In them, you see Mew's joy when Tul enters the frame, or Tul's patience when Mew launches into playful rambling. You see two lives that are not just parallel but intertwined. Two men who have found the rare comfort of being entirely themselves with each other. What's striking is how consistently their sweetness is rooted in simplicity. They don't need diamonds and stage spectacles to prove their love. It lives in a clasped hand, in a supportive nod during interviews, in the way Tul often lets Mew shine brightest yet always remains his steady presence just a step away. Their love story whispers what so many people long to hear, that happiness doesn't have to be loud to be real, that sometimes the truest romance is the one that feels like coming home. Fans, of course, swoon over these moments. They turn screenshots into collages, short clips into endless edits set to love songs. But beneath the fandom enthusiasm lies something more important: inspiration. Tul and Mew's daily affection challenges the idea that queer love must always be extraordinary to be accepted. Instead, they show that it can be ordinary, and that ordinariness is beautiful. They normalize tenderness between two men in a way that feels effortless, while reminding everyone that what makes love powerful isn't how loudly it's declared, but how faithfully it's lived. For young people watching, especially those still wrestling with their identities, this is the true gift of Tul and Mew's love. It tells them that they don't need to perform for approval. They don't need to hide or apologize. Love doesn't need to be defended when it's lived honestly. Tul and Mew embody that lesson not through speeches or campaigns, but simply through the way they look at each other, the way they choose to hold hands in public without hesitation, the way they turn their daily lives into proof that love, in all its forms, deserves to be cherished. In the end, their romance is not defined by the milestones, the announcement, the engagement, the public appearances. Those were chapters, yes, but the real story lies in the quiet pages in between. In the cooking, the traveling, the laughter, the gentle touches. Those are the lines of poetry that fans keep rereading, the brushstrokes that make the painting glow. And perhaps that's the ultimate message of Tul and Mew's love. Happiness is not found in noise or spectacle. It's found in the constancy of someone who chooses you every day. It's found in the person who stands beside you, not just in the spotlight, but in the silence afterward. Which brings us to the heart of their legacy. Beyond the sweetness of their daily lives, what lasting inspiration does their love leave for fans, for the LGBT community, and for anyone searching for courage in their own story? The beauty of their quiet, everyday love naturally opened the door to something even greater, the meaning it carried for everyone watching. Because Tul and Mew's story wasn't only about two people finding happiness together, it was about what their happiness symbolized for a generation learning to believe in love without limits. Their romance, painted in soft gestures and steady devotion, shattered one of the oldest misconceptions, that same-sex love is somehow less than. Every time Tul held Mew's hand in public, every time Mew smiled at Tul without hesitation, they proved that love between two men can be just as radiant, just as tender, and just as worthy as any other. They didn't need to declare it with slogans. Their actions spoke louder. And with every candid photo, every shared laugh, they sent a clear message. Our love is no different from yours, and it deserves to be celebrated. That message resonated powerfully in a world where LGBTQ+ representation is still uneven, where young people often grow up wondering if their feelings will ever be accepted. Watching Tul and Mew wasn't just entertaining, it was healing. For a teenager struggling to come out, seeing them live openly was like seeing a door unlocked. For someone scared of rejection, watching them thrive together was like being handed permission to dream. Their love became a mirror, reflecting back the possibility of a future filled not with shame, but with joy. What makes them even more inspiring is the maturity of their bond. Tul, steady and grounded, embodies protection and care. Mew, expressive and radiant, brings warmth and celebration. Together, they show that a real relationship isn't about perfection, but about balance, knowing when to hold the other up, when to listen, and when to simply be present. Fans don't just admire their romance, they learn from it. They learn that true love means protecting, respecting, and choosing each other again and again. This has made Tul and Mew more than just a couple in the public eye. They have become role models. Not because they set out to be, but because they live authentically. Their openness gives courage to others. Their joy becomes contagious. Their quiet defiance of societal norms, choosing to be visible, choosing to be unapologetic, lights the way for people who still feel they must hide. They remind us that living honestly is itself a form of bravery, and that bravery inspires change. For young fans especially, the lesson runs deep. In Tul and Mew's love, they see proof that happiness isn't reserved for some and denied to others. They see that when you find the right person, you are worthy of love, of commitment, of building a life together, no matter your gender or who you love. They see that love doesn't have to conform to tradition to be real. It just has to be true. Their relationship has in many ways become a living storybook, one that doesn't end when the camera turns off. A love that blossoms not in fairy tale castles, but in kitchens, airports, concert halls, and quiet walks. A love that demonstrates the extraordinary power of ordinary moments. And because of that, it resonates all the more deeply. It says, your story doesn't have to be flashy to matter. It matters because it's yours. In a world that still places obstacles before LGBTQ+ individuals, Tul and Mew stand as a reminder of what's possible. Their happiness is not only their own, it ripples outward, touching lives they may never meet. They've shown that love can be revolutionary, not through loud battles, but through the simple act of existing freely, joyfully, and without apology. And as their story continues to unfold, it invites us to ask, what happens when two people who embody love itself also become symbols of change? What legacy will Tul and Mew leave, not only for themselves, but for all of us who believe in love's power to transform the world? And if, after watching this, you've realized that same-sex love isn't something to be ashamed of, it's something to be celebrated, why not show your support? Leave us a like, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story like this. And let us know where in the world you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you directly. And if their love has already inspired so many in silence, imagine the resonance when their story is finally told to completion. Like the final notes of a symphony that linger in the air long after the music stops. Tul and Mew's journey feels less like a series of news updates and more like a living ballad, written with glances, gestures, and unwavering devotion. It is not simply a romance. It is a reminder that love, when nurtured with sincerity, transforms into something universal, a song every heart can understand. What makes their bond so extraordinary is not the scale of it, but the authenticity. They are not actors playing roles on screen together, nor are they chasing fame through spectacle. In fact, they have never starred in the same film or shared a joint creative project. Yet paradoxically, this absence of staged collaboration only makes their real-life connection more powerful. They did not need a script to prove their chemistry. Life itself became the canvas where their affection flourished. It is as if the universe chose them to embody a love story unscripted, more vivid than fiction could ever hope to be. Their relationship unfolds like music, sometimes tender as a piano's whisper, sometimes bold as a trumpet's call, sometimes quiet as a single breath between notes. And like any great composition, it is the harmony of contrasts that gives it depth. Tul, steady and thoughtful, provides the grounding rhythm, while Mew, radiant and expressive, weaves in melodies of light. Together, they create a soundscape that is rich, layered, and unforgettable, a love song that transcends language and borders. For the LGBTQ+ community, their story has become something greater than romance. It has become representation wrapped in hope. Each photograph of them smiling together, each candid moment of affection, is a gentle protest against the old narrative that same-sex love must be hidden in the shadows. They prove that love between two men can be tender, respected, and celebrated without apology. In doing so, they offer courage to countless others who still feel silenced by fear. And for young people, those still navigating the fragile balance between self-discovery and societal expectation, Tul and Mew's love serves as a guiding star. It tells them that happiness is not a privilege reserved for some, but a right that belongs to all. That when you find someone who sees you for who you are and loves you in return, you should never feel ashamed to hold their hand in the daylight. That your story, too, deserves a melody. What makes their journey even more profound is how naturally they embody the lesson that love does not need validation from anyone but the two people in it. They don't over-explain. They don't dramatize. They simply exist together, sharing travels, laughter, and even mundane routines. And in doing so, they teach the world that true intimacy is built not in grand gestures, but in choosing one another every single day. Fans describe their love as like a painting, and the metaphor fits. But it is not the kind of art sealed away in a gallery. It is alive, evolving, changing with each passing day. Each smile adds a stroke of color. Each moment of patience adds texture. Each shared dream gives depth. And the masterpiece they create together is not only for themselves, it hangs in the collective imagination of everyone who has ever dared to believe in love's transformative power. This is why Tul and Mew's story feels eternal. Even though they, like all of us, are simply human. Their love is not perfect. It has its trials, its silences, its demands, but that imperfection is what makes it real. And in its reality, it carries a message larger than any couple. That love in all its forms is a force worth defending. That it can bend without breaking, endure without fading, and inspire without preaching. As we step back from their story, what remains is not just admiration for a couple, but gratitude for the lesson they offer. That the world changes not only through speeches and movements, but through people daring to live authentically. That a hand held in public can be as revolutionary as any declaration. That sometimes the sweetest resistance is joy itself. So let us close on this truth. Tul and Mew are not just two people in love. They are the chorus to a timeless ballad, a reminder that when love is genuine, it can cross barriers, heal wounds, and inspire generations. Their romance is proof that even in a world still learning acceptance, beauty flourishes wherever hearts are brave enough to love freely. Tul and Mew are not only lovers, they are proof that love, in its purest form, can outlast prejudice, silence fear, and echo as an anthem of hope for us all. What started as a whisper turned into a love story, and now is living proof that true love knows no boundaries. Tul and Mew's engagement is more than just their promise. It's a message to the world that love, when true, is worth the risk. But this is just the beginning of their journey. What happens next? Follow us, like, subscribe, ring the bell, and share this video with those who still believe in the magic of love.